Rachel here. This is my living room. I thought you might like to see the pause sign, which was a gift to me from Priscilla from Little Bird Marketing. Thank you, Priscilla. Shout out to you for helping me pause in my living room more. Even I need to do that. And what I wanted to do was have a video or a little blog vlog on Pause Fest. As you may know, Pause Fest is pretty much a large event in Melbourne, Australia. It's put on by actually 3 people. It has over, I might get this wrong, but it's 170 presenters. I think there was a couple thousand attendees. It's all in this big marketplace outdoors called the Federation Square. Beautiful spot that's an urban place for gathering in the community and events. And it's a movie theater and a museum all downtown in this cool spot right on the river. So I was there. I got there a little early to settle in, and then I went on a retreat afterwards, and I spoke about pause because I figured if there's any conference in the world that I should be at, it's probably that one. And it was just such a gift to be there. So I wanted to share the top things that I learned at Pause Fest with you, just to pass along. And I thought about writing an article on it, but I'm like, you know, I just want to do a video. These are more fun for me. I think they're more interactive with you, and you can give me a comment below on which one really resonates, or, you know, if you were there, actually, what was your top takeaway? So real quick, well, not real quick, but what I would want to share, what were my top things I learned or takeaways. One was really how much connection matters at any conference. I thought this was like a really good reminder. Connection equals currency is the quote that one of my mentors tells me, Sage Levine. Connection equals currency. And I met so many fantastic people, from the organizers to attendees to vendors and just acquaintances, fellow speakers, like everybody. If I really just pause to stop and connect or be curious and engage, I got so much more out of that conversation, or learning about somebody and actually following up and just making that connection and potentially even bringing them into my world a little bit more. Maybe they learned about Pause or the book that I wrote, and I learned about their world and what they're doing in the world. And it was just awesome. And it was just a good reminder, connection equals currency, and I can do that anywhere. So that was my number one takeaway. And then the second takeaway that I had was basically how much everyone loves pausing. Okay, so pausing there was about a conference where designers and innovators, technologists, futurists, basically anyone who wants to change the world, a lot of entrepreneurs, or maybe people who already work at a big company, but they're there to design change or change for the better. And so pausing is this overarching umbrella term. We use it for a lot of stuff. In my world, it's intentional shifts in behavior, but for them, it's actually my take was pausing matters so that you can be more creative, be more innovative, and that's very, very important if you're creating or designing in the world. There were people like UX designers. I met a lot of those. There was design thinkers, processing, like literally like textile design. There was just amazing people there. So having that as the crux was super important, and people were just connecting over that too. There's that word again, connection. But I loved that people were thinking that pausing was this theme and we all need it, and how are you pausing, or what does this mean for me, and making it really personal. And that's what I loved about it. So it wasn't just like I was the anomaly there, you know, people weren't there to talk about mostly well-being like me, but there were people there where pausing means something completely different for them. But overall, like, it hits home, right? Whatever you're talking about. So to me, that was really cool and very unique about it. So that was the second thing. And then I actually attended a bunch of different meetings and seminars myself, where it was a 3-day conference. There was a dinner the night before, then I went on a retreat afterwards. And I learned a lot about design. I'm not a designer, as you may know, and I've never studied it, but I really appreciated what I found out, because you think about it, everything in our world is designed, from the chair you sit in to potentially like an interface that you have on an app. and all kinds of cool stuff. So one of the sessions that I went to was actually a really cool session on Gen Z, and like how do you market to Gen Z as a designer or putting something as an innovative product together, just knowing that even if they're your coworkers. So Gen Z, if you haven't heard, you've got millennials who are pretty much in their late 20s to 30s now, and then behind them is Gen Z, which I want to say what I learned was like age 7 to like 21, or maybe I might be off a little bit on the other spectrum, but that was just really interesting because I hadn't really heard an in-depth talk on this generation before, and it kind of opened my eyes into all of the people who are almost ready to enter the work world, or people who my friends have children that age, and so I was just excited because it was this new thing that I was learning. I was feeling nourished because I was learning and growing from this, like just feeling like, wow, this is super cool. And what I learned, I'll share with you, was they're pretty much the opposite of the millennials. That's what I gathered. And I'm not a Gen Z, but if you are Gen Z, maybe you can comment below, like what is it that stands out to you from your generation? I would just love to know. But what I think like my biggest takeaway was, because they're the opposite, they're like, they can be really curious, and you kind of like let someone, if they're Gen Z, take something and run with it, and they're good to go. And I found that fascinating because that's not typical in anyone my generation, or, you know, I'm just speaking, these are general terms, but I was very curious about that and interested. So it's like this curiosity. They grew up with cell phones and screens, so a lot of them are really familiar and adept to technology, but they also grew up in the financial crisis of 2008. So potentially, like, they're really financially aware, and may not be very like, they might be spendthrift. They aren't really spending frivolously because they know the value of money, because they've gone through hard times. If there was a crisis, well, there was a crisis, and maybe their family was hit or something like that, and then we met, you know, they met all these challenges from that. So those are some key things that really stood out to me from that one talk. I wish I remembered who it was. If you happen to know, thank you for the talk. And I think all of those were kind of my top takeaways. And then I think the overall part where I went on this retreat afterwards was tying it all together. And I spent time with these two great women from NASA who were doing talks throughout the whole Pause Fest as well. And I got to stargaze with one of them who was leading that. And these are real, both of them are amazing experts in their field. And I just had so much fun with them. So I love what I was doing, and I just want to pass that along. Just kind of like, I spent a lot of time promoting it, and I want to bring back to you what I learned from it. And you can check it out. They are going to post talks there from pausefest.com.au in probably the several weeks coming forward. But want to also just give a shout out to the organizers. Again, it was only 3 people for the most part that did all of this. So that was George, and that was Milana, and that was, I want to say, Diane. And so all 3 of them, you deserve a big shout out. Good job. Way to go. Just pretty much putting together a fantastic event for thousands of people, and it was 3 of you. So well done. Okay, so leave me a comment below. What would you say is your top takeaway if you listened to this, or if you were there? Would love to hear from you too. What was your top takeaway from the event? Or if you're Gen Z, tell me about you. Tell me about what stands out about your generation. I think that would be really fun. There was literally like hundreds of talks, so I just picked one to share today because I thought it was pretty interesting. So hopefully you got something out of it. That's it. All right, thanks everybody, and hope to hear from you soon. Bye.